International Women's Day, and it's all about championing the achievement of women. Y'all can, by the way, sit down and enjoy us. There's so many women, and also
like church there,
right?
A minute, right? Sit down.
Yes, yes. You may be seated.
You may be seated now.
We are talking all about the strong women that we admire so much, and Sunday is all about that. There's so many women in the audience, and by the way, there's some brave men here too, which we respect. Sunday is about raising awareness about gender equality around the world, and it also is Women's History Month, March. So it made us wonder who inspires us. When you were a little girl growing up, who was it that you looked up to?
My mom. Actually, I looked up to my mom and my grandmother. Both of them were kind of towering figures to me. I think like so many people admire their mothers or admire people in their own family that they can kind of see up close. I admired the faith of my grandmother. I admired my mother. She went out to work. She kind of was in a man's world, and she was trying to change the world for people with special needs. So I always looked at her as kind of this person I wanted to be like. And what about you?
I mean, me too. And how many of you would say, when they say, what women did you admire, would you say your mothers or your grandmothers? I think when I used to do interviews and people would ask me that question, and that was always like my gut answer, I used to kind of, try to find another answer. And then I realized, no, those are the women that taught me how to use my voice.
I remember always talking to my mom, actually, because people asked her why she started Special Olympics, and she said it was for the mothers of people with special needs, because she saw them struggling so much to find places for their children, and she said she had seen her own mother struggle in that respect, and so she wanted to start a camp for people with special needs, and that led later to a movement. But I think mothers are so inspiring to other mothers. And certainly, I think there's not a woman with kids out there who hasn't been lifted up by other mothers in the school, other mothers in the kind of church groups and all of that. I spoke yesterday at a church group, and it was a woman that led all of the kind of family services there that all the women admired the most. And she wasn't anybody's mother there in particular, but she was mothering the whole church community.
I mean, everybody's mothering. And I do think I am mothering 3 children of my own, but when I am, you realize that is the most important job. I hope my kids feel the way I do about my mom and my grandmothers. My grandmothers, I am named after my mom's mom, Jenna. Well, was from Midland, Texas, and she never was formally educated. She didn't graduate from college, and she actually died last year. And I remember on her way to her funeral, I'd lost both my grandmothers in a year. And in Midland, Texas, there were 8 people at her funeral, and my other grandmother had this huge funeral, and everybody came to pay their respects. And I said to my mom, do you think Grammy, who was Jenna, I was named after, was intimidated by having the vice president's, wife as her other counterpart, the other grandmother? And my mom was like, Grammy was never intimidated. Yeah, and I think I loved it. I think we really need to thank the moms and the grandmothers. And there's so much in this show today about these incredible women who are well known, but it's the everyday woman that is raising their kids to make our country a better place.
And that's what's absolutely. And I think that's what's so great about International Women's Day is that, and so much of the concentration now on showing women exceeding in all of these different ways, whether it's on the sports field, whether it's in homes, as teachers, as coaches, because when I was growing up, you didn't have that. Yeah. You didn't have an International Women's Day, You didn't even have this whole girl dad movement. Yeah. We were talking about that. I was one of 5 kids, 4 brothers, and a dad who, just wasn't quite sure what to do with a girl. So it was like, let's just make her into one of the boys.
Did he come see you do stuff?
Well, no, he was busy. He was working, and that wasn't really in the culture. And I was telling you, I happened to go to the Kobe Bryant Memorial last week with my son, and there was so much talk about being a girl dad and his emphasis on women's sports and lifting up other women, not just his own daughter, but women who were playing in the WNBA and college sports. And I was sitting there and I was going, wow, what a different world it is today for young women. What a different world it is to have your dads kind of coaching your teams, coming to your games, lifting you up, talking to you about boys, about finance, about all these things, because young girls are so influenced by the men in their life. It affects the men they choose. It affects the way they think about themselves, their self-confidence. So I think kind of this whole movement of having men be proud of their daughters and be involved. Your dad was a girl.
Yeah.
I mean,
my dad is a girl dad. He still is. He only has 2 daughters. And my sister was saying, I remember when I was little, and you know, when we were little in the 80s, it was the type of thing where, I mean, my sister is shy. Her name was Barbara Bush. That was kind of hard. People would be like, Barbara Bush, you know, and they'd see this little tiny girl. But she said, Daddy always made me feel like he felt sorry for the boys in our classes because I was so much smarter. Aww. And I was like, well, he didn't really make me feel, no. He made me feel like I was the funniest. And people in Texas, and I'm sure some of y'all that are close to my age remember when you would be sitting with your parents and somebody would come up and say, well, do you want a son? Yeah. What about a son? Like that was the end all be all. And listen, I have a son now and I can't keep my hands off of him. I love him so much, but that doesn't take away from my girls. Who are also the lights in my life. But yeah, my dad was very active, I think, in a time when, you know, I think men were showing up. And now I've got an equal partner, and life is so much better that way.
I think it's been great to have men so much more involved. And, you know, in many parts of the world, since this is International Women's Day, it's still really hard to have a daughter. And still, in many parts of the world, having a daughter is not looked on as an asset. So that's why this day is so important, because we want to celebrate daughters all across the globe and let those men know it's a great thing to have a daughter, just as it is to have a son and to have a healthy child, how wonderful it is for the planet.
We also want all girls to know, no matter wherever they're from, that they are enough. And by the way, speaking of women, today our parent company, NBC Universal, is rolling out some special PSAs as part of the iconic The More You Know campaign. We all know this. And Hoda, who's probably watching from home, took part. Watch yourself, Hoda.
Anyone can be an influencer when they spread positivity. Social media can be a fantastic way to encourage and engage with girls and women around the world. Use your platform to lift women up. The more you see her, the more you know.
Aww. I miss you, Hoda. I'll lift her up right now. Hoda's hair looks fab in that. That's all I'm going to say. She's the best, and we miss her.
Look at her leggings and her style.
She looks so great.
Relaxed about it all.
She's looking at her phone. I'm like, was that yesterday?
It's Digital Detox Day or something,
too. By the way, it's Digital Detox this weekend, so don't take that PSA. Take that PSA and what Hoda said, and then hide your phone.
But then don't forget to turn your clocks on Sunday.
Because it's also Fast Forward Day.
Oi.
There's a lot going on this weekend. Hopefully, we'll get you prepared.